Lately, I've been hearing a lot of people in the business space talk about how they've been feeling kind of uninspired when it comes to their content. I've been in the same boat. So in order to remedy that, I'm trying to latch onto my excitement about AI, specifically within the social media space. And I wanted to bring you along as I talk about how I'm going to be incorporating AI into my content strategy. Now, I'm just going to focus on GPT for today, but if you want to hear about other ways that I am incorporating AI, let me know. One mistake I think people make when it comes to using AI like GPT to find content ideas is that you kind of take the lazy route and are just like, hey, give me content ideas for blah, blah, blah. Instead of just taking that easy route, I want to challenge you to learn how to ask better questions of AI in order to pull from all the information that it has access to. The first step that I'm taking to do this is to better get to know who my audience is. And to do that, I'm going to be using this really great prompt by a creator named Ron from Design with Canva. I will link their channel below. I'll actually link the video where he talks about how to use this so you can figure out how you can download it, I guess, onto your GPT. I'm not sure how it all works tech-wise. Just to quickly summarize what it does though is basically you type in what you're selling and where your audience is located, and then it will spit out a buyer persona that details your audience's needs, their pains, their budget that they might have for your services and things like that. It gets pretty detailed and I found it really interesting, so I'm excited to share that with you. I'm going to try to get a little more specific than usual, not necessarily with the location, but I'm sure if you are more specific about the location, there are even more insights that this can give you. And then you'll see that it starts to output different tables that apply to different parts of the buyer persona. So here we have demographics, then the user description, which is just a short blurb about them, and it kind of summarizes that first part. Then we have the psychographics. Then we have their shopping behaviors. And I'll do a quick slow scroll just so you can see kind of all the things that it has. But again, if you want to get more detail on how this all works, definitely click the link that I'll put in my description box to Ron's original video about how he created this and how this all works. So like I said, demographics down to marital status and family situation, this user description, which summarizes all of this top portion of the demographics, the psychographics, and this is really what we're going to focus on in this video, so I'll just glaze over that for now. And then the shopping behaviors, it gives the monthly budget, how often they shop, their preferred brands, and then their triggers. So this is really relevant in terms of how you might want to schedule out different content and promotions. But yeah, overall, it just creates a really detailed picture for you that you might not be able to create on your own. I know that I couldn't, even with a marketing degree, considering all these different facets and kind of making them up for a person can be kind of difficult. So jumping back up into the psychographics portion, we see that Sarah is very tech savvy. She's creative, driven, and extroverted. We have photography, traveling, and attending music festivals as her hobbies. And she's trying to build a personal brand and become a thought leader. So that's all cool, but the most interesting parts of this for me in terms of developing content ideas specifically is digging into the pains, the main challenges, the needs, and the dreams. And this is where you want to start asking your question. But before we get into that, one thing I will say is that when you run this, it's going to be a different result, a relatively different result, I'll say, each time. So I would honestly recommend running it 3, maybe even 4 times just to see which different points come up, because although you're trying to develop your ideal customer, at the end of the day, you're going to have different people coming to you. And so you want to be able to tackle as many of the different issues that they might be facing as possible. We're going to take Sarah's issue of lack of time in terms of building her presence on social media, and we're going to dig a little deeper into that. So I've opened up a new chat over here, and I'm going to ask the question, why do people lack time to create content for social media? And see what GPT has to say. Okay, so here was the answer that they spit out. There could be several reasons why they feel they lack time to create content. So busy schedules, lack of prioritization, perfectionism, procrastination, creative blocks. And while you could start with just making general content based on these things, Another thing that I recommend is doubling down and maybe even questioning the answers further. You never know how much extra detail that you're going to get, so that you can kind of niche down your content further and further and further to better accommodate the audience that you're trying to speak to. So for me, in terms of doubling down, I'm going to take the lack of prioritization piece and ask, why do people feel that creating content for social media is not a high priority for their business? Because I want to be really specific, because I'm speaking to business owners. And this is all in real time, so who knows what ChatGPT is going to say. It might be helpful, it might not be. But like I said, just doubling down could reveal some more details that you may not be thinking about, because you may not be able to think too far back to when you were struggling, or you may not have been struggling in the same way as other people. So it's really important to kind of dig deeper into these things. And this right here is where you can get really specific content ideas that actually can make an impact on your audience. So here we go. Number one is lack of understanding. Some people may not fully understand the value of social media for your business. So I can make different pieces of content that speak to what the value of social media is for business. I could do that through sharing case studies of how it's worked for other clients that I've had, or other brands that it's worked for. Or I could just give statistics in terms of how consumers tend to make purchasing decisions and things like that. Limited resources. Maybe I can concentrate on creating content that talks about how they can create content on a low budget with things that they already have. That's another area I can focus on. But the whole point about this is, as you get deeper and deeper into each of these issues and these needs and these pains, you can develop pointed pieces of content that can really make an impact. Another thing with this, I will say, don't be afraid to bring in your own insights. Maybe you are a parenting coach and you're a mom yourself, and if you know that the main reason would be busy schedules versus procrastination, lean into that, and you can let your intuition kind of guide you in terms of where you want to focus and where you best think things will accommodate your audience. And if you learn down the line that maybe the busy schedule isn't the issue and procrastination is in fact the issue, or perfectionism, you'll learn that based on how your content performs later on. I just really enjoy the buyer persona template tool and how it breaks everything down. It just kind of takes a mental load off, because sometimes when you're thinking of content ideas, it can be really basic. And when you type in, give me content ideas for blank, it can get very, very basic. You really want to avoid the typing in, give me content ideas for blank, because that's how everyone's content becomes the same. If we're being realistic, people are kind of lazy. I say that all the time. And so we're going to rely on this technology more and more. And you don't want everyone's content to look the same. You want to stand out as someone in your industry, in your niche. It already can be difficult as is. So you want to really make sure that you're speaking to what your audience needs. One of my main tips when it comes to working with ChatGPT is to try to be as specific as possible with the questions that you ask. If you ask generic questions, you're going to get back generic answers. And again, that's not going to help your content to stand out, because your brain is still kind of spinning its own wheels, when you could take advantage of ChatGPT as we have in this video and get really detailed, really niche content that actually makes an impact on a specific issue that someone in your audience might be having. So get really specific, dig into those needs, those pains, those dreams that people have, and go from there. Another way that I plan on using ChatGPT in my content strategy is to fill in the gaps a little bit. If I'm being honest, I'm not always the best copywriter, and so when I'm looking for example, titles for my YouTube videos, I will type right into ChatGPT what my video is about, and even add in mood indicators of like how you want people to feel seeing the title, and it will spit out some ideas, and I might tweak it a little bit or just use one of the ones that they give me. I think that's perfectly okay. The balance that you want to find when using AI and things like that is to add your own little flavor to it. In the example that I gave, I've already created the content, it's already come from my mind, but I'm just trying to summarize it in a way that's interesting to people, and sometimes my brain isn't always ready to do that. So I think it's perfectly okay to use ChatGPT to fill in the gaps where you struggle. Maybe you struggle with headlines or titles like I do, or maybe you struggle with the idea portion, and we just talked about how you can use ChatGPT to come up with good ideas without it being super generic. Overall, my position with ChatGPT and other AI is just to use it where you need to, but add your own flavor to it, and that way you still have unique content that still feels like you, but at the same time, you know, you can take a load off on your brain a little bit, because there's a lot that goes into content. I am all about making content creation as easy as possible, so as long as you are making it your own, go for it. Use the tools that are at your disposal to make content creation easier, so you can spend time on your life outside of social media, because there is so much more to life than spending hours and hours and hours on content. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!